Weston. I love talking about the Rangers, and we are becoming a meme. Oh, Rangers lose 3-2. Where have I said that before? Another 1-goal loss, the 4th in a row. I don't have anything witty to say. I could do the song and dance of I am depressed, I am sad, I am dying a little on the inside, all of which are quite true. It happened again. It happened again. We start strong. We have a lead going into the second. We give up some stupid breakaway that happens to become a goal. And then we lose in the third period. This one was the second period, but it doesn't matter. It happened again. It happened again. I feel like I see it coming. It's like, oh God, it's not going to happen again. Is it? And then boom, it does. It happens again. 4 games in a row now. 1-goal losses. And like, obviously the first game of the year sucked. Losing 4-0 was awful. I'm not going to say it wasn't. But at least in that game, after the first period, I knew what we were in for. We were in for a blowout. With the past 4 games, it's like, we could actually win this. And then, no, it gets ripped away from us at the last second. I could yell and scream, but I probably should just recap the game. But this is getting depressing. And I mean, another 4 in a row. 4 in a row. And I don't want to say, I know it's only 6 games in, so I don't want to say, oh, it was a must-win game. That's unfair. But we are dead last in the league with 3 points. We are tied for dead last with the Senators. Ottawa, really? Dallas, who to my knowledge has played 2 games to this point, already has more points than we do. And you might say, well, Weston, Dallas was in the Stanley Cup last year, and I would reply with, yes, we've played 4 more games than them. Any excuse is invalid. We are playing ghastly hockey, and it is heart-wrenching, to say the least. So, started off with in the first thing that happened, about 6.5 in. Buchnevich, there's a nice play down in the offensive zone. Buchnevich goes behind the goal, sets it up, Kreider in front, and bam, 1-0. And I'm like, okay, maybe David Quinn watched my video where I said I want Buchnevich back on the first line, and where I also said I thought Keandre Miller would have a 2-point game against Buffalo, and I was almost right, because he had a few really nice shots. He did score, and I'll get to that in a second, but Buchnevich to Kreider, goal, I'm excited, I'm like, all right, we might win. I'm foolish for thinking that. A little bit later, this was at about 11:30 left in the game, in the first period. It doesn't have to do with anything. I just noticed it and was really happy about it. It didn't affect the game in any way, but there was a nice play down in the offensive zone where Kaapo Kakko had 2 guys draped all over him. He was one-handing the puck and fighting them off with the other hand, and it was just like, wow, you have grown so much so quickly. He is so much more confident. Kaapo Kakko, he had a terrible year last year. A lot of people will say it was one of the worst advanced analytics seasons of all time. But Kaapo Kakko is looking very nice. He looked really good in the bubble. People kind of forget about that, but he was probably our best player during that time. No, he didn't score, but he looked great during that 3-game set against the Hurricanes, which is more than you can say about most of the team in that 3-game series. Anyway, back to current day. But that was a really nice play. It didn't lead to anything, but that happened, and I was very pleased with that. At 8:30 left or thereabouts in the first period, Jack Johnson takes a tripping penalty and gives a team who was the 10th ranked team in the league for power plays, and I'm assuming they've gone up after tonight because I believe they were at 25%, and they had 2 for 4 tonight. So I'm assuming they moved up maybe a spot or so. I don't want to be mean, but why is Jack Johnson still on this team? Seriously, Jack Johnson is awful. And I feel bad just, taking pot shots at him because, again, I will say this, anyone who is at the NHL level is infinitely better than I will ever be at hockey. So take it with a grain of salt when I say this, but Jack Johnson has been very, very bad for the Rangers this season. I don't want to be mean or a jerk to the guy, but Jack Johnson, he's got to go. He is not good offensively. He is not good defensively. He's been a bit of a penalty magnet so far. I believe he's committed 4 or 5 penalties so far in the season, and we are not that far in. And you're going to probably say, well, Weston, what? Fox took a penalty tonight, and so did, who else took a penalty? I forget. Miller took a penalty, if I'm not mistaken. You might say that they took penalties. Why am I complaining about them? If Jack Johnson was producing at a point-a-game rate like Fox is, or was looking like a potential Calder candidate like Miller is, I wouldn't complain about some penalty trouble. But he is not. We live in a different reality than that. Jack Johnson is not good offensively, defensively. I don't know why he's on the penalty kill. I don't know why he's getting so much ice time. And I would much prefer Brendan Smith. It's starting to get to me with Jack Johnson. Seeing him on the ice for like 20 minutes a game. How much, I want to get the exact time right tonight for Jack Johnson. How much time was he out there for tonight? Jack Johnson. 18:03. Good God, Kapokaka was out there for less than 16. That makes me depressed. So with a top 10 team with a power play, what do you know? About a minute and a half later, they get a power play goal, and it's 1-1, and I'm very sad. So that happened in the first period, and a little bit more happened. I will say this, again, I mentioned it before, I was happy that they moved Buchnevich back to the first line. The first line looked really nice tonight. No, they didn't score a ton, but they were skating hard. Zibanejad was moving more fluently, I thought. He was skating harder. Everyone on the first line was skating harder and better and looked better. So I will say that. I'm very happy about that. Hopefully that can carry into the next game, that we can hopefully win Thursday. Please, is that asking too much to win a game so we can be not, at this point, like 1-5-1 or 1-4-2? That'd be great. So that, I wanted to mention that. So that happened about 5 minutes left in the first period. Just a gorgeous poke check by Keandre Miller. I will sing this kid's praises until I'm blue in the face. He is fantastic. Keandre Miller is performing as advertised, and I am ecstatic about it. The future looks very nice with this blue line of Miller and Fox. Not necessarily on the same line, or on the same defensive pairing, but boy, the Rangers have two really good young defensemen, and I'm ecstatic about it. So that was at 5 minutes. And then, a little bit later in the first period, about 15 or 10 seconds left in the period, it happens. And, oh boy, was I excited about what happened. So, Rangers are starting to go towards the offensive zone. Brendan Lemieux plays it in, and he takes it, kind of shoots it off into the corner. Maybe he was trying to take a shot from away. Maybe he was just trying to shoot it in. Doesn't really matter. Lemieux shoots it on there. Colin Blackwood, who I thought looked pretty good tonight. Colin Blackwood, I know it's been 2 games, and it's not been, like, insane or anything, but the guy looks decent. I'm not saying he's going to be a first or second line stud or anything, but if they found just a fourth or third line solid player, if I'm not mistaken, just like in just nowhere, just like free agency, and just got him for basically nothing, that'd be darn good. But Colin Blackwood plays it out, kind of dances around with the puck a little bit, passes it over to Keandre Miller, and a bomb from the point. Keandre Miller fires it in. Keandre Miller has scored his first NHL goal, which means he has his first NHL goal and his first NHL assist. He did not have 2 points, but I said he would have 2 points in one of the games, and there's still another game against Buffalo. So if I call that correctly, I will never stop bragging about it. But Keandre Miller had his first goal. It was awesome. I lost my mind. I love Keandre Miller. He seems like such a nice guy, and he seems like such a happy presence on the team. So he got his goal. He looked pretty happy. I was ecstatic. We go into the second period up 2-1. And I thought to myself, again, for like the 5th straight game, we might actually have a chance here. And sadly, the 4 games after that second game of the year have been disappointments. Anyway, on to the second period. So, second period, about 13:55 left in the period. And a breakaway for Buffalo. If I'm not mistaken, that one was on a power play. Or not a power play. Well, we were on the power play. It was almost shorthanded. They got their skater back with like a second before they scored. But a weird power play. D'Angelo was not where he was supposed to be at all. And it's tied again. And I'm like, can I just go curl up on the ground? That's really what I want to do. So it's 2-2. And I'm like, well, whatever, it's fine. We can rebound. We'll be fine, I thought to myself. And that was not the case, because just a little bit later, Miller takes a really weak cross-checking penalty, and I thought it was kind of garbage. I did not like the call at all about it. Like, I really hated it. It bothered me like crazy. I was like, that was just him trying to push him out of the way. Like, that's not a cross-checking. That's a push. There's a difference. You're allowed to push. So that happens, and Buffalo takes the lead 3-2. I believe it was Jack Eichel with the goal. First goal of the season for him. And it's 3-2 Buffalo, and my notes say, I want to cry, which is accurate. So that happened. And that was, I believe, like midway through roughly the second period, and from that moment on, it was kind of nothing. I found this hilarious. If I'm not mistaken, I want to make sure this is correct. I believe the Sabres had 2 shots on goal. They had 2 shots on goal in the third period, and we had 15, and we did not score any of those. I'm very depressed. This is comical, and this is a big reason why we lost, I do believe. Our face-off percentage tonight was ghastly. I believe it was something like 36 or 37 to like 12 by the end of the game. The percentage itself was 69.6, nice. But that's unacceptable. Like, we cannot be losing 7 out of 10 face-offs. That's insane. And what they were being able to do towards the end of the game with how good their face-off was is they could just win the face-off, doodle around with the puck in their end for a couple of seconds, and then just ice it. And they knew they were going to win the face-off, and they did! Every time, it felt like. It was beyond annoying. It was driving me out of my mind. And I want to cry. So, about 1:37 left in the game, I do believe. It was that moment exactly. Keandre Miller, when trying to just dump the puck off into the offensive zone, took an awful boarding call, which I understand. Hockey is a very competitive and hyper-aggressive sport. I understand that. But this is one of those hits that does not have any room in hockey. That was a bad hit on Keandre Miller. I didn't like it. And then he really fell into the wall funky, like almost like back of the neck first. It was real creepy. I hated watching it on replay. I'm glad they panned away from it quickly, because if I would have seen it in real time, I probably would have like had a mini heart attack, because that was a real nasty looking hit. Luckily, it didn't look like he had any symptoms or anything wrong after that. It looks like he just kind of got up, shook it off, and went into the bench. So that was good, but that was a rough hit on him. I'm reading directly from my notes for this next one that I wrote at the time, which was, love of God, it's 6-on-4, please score. So we had 6-on-4 for the last minute and a half. We pulled Georgiev, who I thought was fine. He wasn't great or anything. He was fine. The goalie tandem has been fine, and I think they've just had some unlucky breaks. Again, 2 of the penalties, or 2 of the goals, were power play for the Sabres, and one of them was a breakaway, which I understand. And here's the thing. I understand that breakaways and power plays are a part of the game, and you need to be good against them. I understand that. But I'm not going to yell at our goalie for being like, oh, I can't believe it. You suck today. You gave up 3 goals. Yeah, 2 of them were power play, and one of them was a breakaway because our defenseman didn't know where he was supposed to stand, but it's on you. Is it on Georgiev partially? Sure. But they were also power plays and a breakaway, because one of our defensemen decided to take a really bad penalty for basically no reason, and our other defenseman decided to, instead of standing at the middle of the ice, hug the wall for no reason. But yeah, Georgiev was fine, but we had pulled him at that point. It was 6-on-4. It felt like we put up 1,000 shots in the last minute, and none of them went in. Lafreniere with another few near misses, and he's getting so close. He's so close. And I feel like when he finally breaks through, he's just going to light it up. I really believe that. But, God, it has to happen soon. It's depressing. It's heart-wrenching. So like I said, Buffalo tonight was 2 for 4 on their power play. I guess I should specify. That's the end of the game. It ended. It was another gut-wrenching loss. Another 1-goal loss. I believe that was our third consecutive 3-2 loss, which is... It hurts me right here in my heart. So tonight, 5 players had points. Buchnevich, Lemieux, and Blackwell with assists. Miller and Kreider with goals. That's all great. We played another good game of hockey. Like, that's the weird thing. We play good, but we just take 1 or 2 either stupid penalties that give the power plays or just a few stupid plays, and that costs us the game. Like, we just make gaffes that end up hurting us and costing us the game. It's not like a gaffe that's like, well, that was bad, but, you know, it didn't end up costing you. No. Every time we make a gaffe, that's the goal that decides the game, it feels like. Go back a few games ago. I'm going to keep bringing this up because it every time I close my eyes, I see it. The Lindgren goal where he threw it into his own net, take that away. That one blunder, it doesn't go to overtime. We win that game. Just a bad breakaway the other night. The second game against the Penguins, take that away. It's at least tied going into when we go to overtime tonight. Take away the bad breakaway, and guess what? It's tied and we go into overtime. At the bare minimum, even if we lose both of those games after the first one that we would have won if we wouldn't have, if Lindgren might not have thrown it into his own net, we get a couple points. At the bare minimum, we're not dead last in the league in points, tied with the Ottawa Senators. It's killing me. We play the Sabres again Thursday. So real quick before I go, I'm going to hit you guys with some ice times, which is what I love doing. Jacob Trouba had 19:57. Panarin had 23:14. Lafreniere had 14:58. Please give him more time, at least more time than Jack Johnson, for the love of God. Ryan Strome had 18:54. Kreider only had 14:38, which I thought was kind of shocking. Fox had another game where he had over 20 minutes. What is Adam Fox averaging ice time this year? I'm going to check this really quickly because it feels like he's just constantly on the ice. Time on ice. And that is not a statistic that gives me. Awesome. But it feels like he is just constantly on the ice, and he's our best defender and might be the best defenseman over the past, I saw a one-page being as bold to say over the past 10 years. I'm not sure if I agree with that totally, but at this rate, he certainly will be. If he can produce like this for the rest of the season and into next year, then yeah, I have no problem saying he's the best defenseman we've had since maybe Brian Leach. Some more time on ice. Like I said, Adam Fox had 21:43. Kaapo Kakko had 15:47. Please give Kaapo Kakko more ice time. I'm begging you. I will beg you profusely. Please give him more ice time. Jack Johnson, for some reason, had 18 minutes and 3 seconds. I want to cry. Lindgren had 18:16. D'Angelo had 20:43. Some weird stuff going on with D'Angelo. Hopefully you guys have seen that on Twitter and such. Miller had 17:41. I'm happy to see him get more ice time. I'd like to see him more in the 20 region because he is looking incredible. And to wrap it up, Buchnevich had 18:17, and Mika Zibanejad had 19:05. And I just see this. Zibanejad's face-off percentage was 28.6. Lord have mercy. So, that ends another recap for the Rangers. We are 1-4-1. Going into the season, I don't want to say I wrote the season off, because I didn't. I had hope. But I was perfectly fine with the thought of, maybe we're not going to compete. Maybe we're not going to make the playoffs. I want to see development with the players. And we're seeing some development with the players. I will say that. But I wasn't expecting to make the playoffs, but I wasn't expecting them to not make the playoffs like this. And I understand it's 6 games in. But we look awful. I don't know what needs to change. I have, other than Jack Johnson, that needs to change. But it's getting hard to watch. It's getting painful. And I wish I could end this on a happier note, but I really can't, because it is our 4th straight 1-goal loss. And this video is super long, almost 20 minutes. So, I will see you all on Thursday to recap the next Buffalo Sabres game or Rangers against the Sabres. So thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. And as always, go Rangers.